In this interview, we're going to meet Tom Eriksson. Tom is an interaction designer and researcher at the Social Computing Group at IBM Watson Lab in New York. Tom has been working for IBM since '97, and before that he spent 9 years at Apple. So he is actually the ideal person to talk to about social computing. What are the most important issues according to ethics, do you think?
Again, it's an issue of levels, and I don't know if I can kind of do all the levels here, but one thing we need to think about is the extent to which the systems we design allow people to perform the full range of interactions. So one example I'm fond of is think about reputation systems. Maybe I'm an eBay dealer or something, or maybe I run a small hotel. Okay, let's suppose I screw up. I do something bad. Somebody complains, somebody reveals what I did on the system. Let's say I'm sorry. I try to make amends. Will the reputation system allow that? Suppose the person I've wronged, we work it out. Maybe there's some innocent explanation for why I behaved badly, and they'll forgive me. Can that forgiveness be embodied in the system we've designed? We can think of ways it could, but does it support that, right? And I think clearly it ought. So we need to think about the full range of human interactions and make sure that we don't just support a narrow range and disrupt the larger processes of forgiveness. And on the other hand, reputation is important too, right? So we also don't want to design systems where, or at least not as a rule, where people have no history, right? So we need to think about it at that level. At a higher level, you can keep going up. Clearly, there's the issue of digital divide, right? We're creating all these lovely systems that help people get ahead commercially, allow them to have good communications with others, have fun, have enjoyment, but those are not accessible to a certain segment of the world or of the community. So we need to keep that in mind. It's not clear to me what to do about that, right? On the one hand, I don't think we want to say, well, we won't design anything until suddenly everybody could have access. That's just not feasible. On the other hand, just thinking that everything we do is going to lift everybody's boat equally. Well, that's clearly not the case either. And so it's important to think about, if we're building a system that is going to do something, how does that affect others, either in just leaving them behind or disadvantaging them more, right? If you have a small store, say a small antique store, and you don't sort of know how to get onto the web, you've probably lost a lot of business in the last decade. And more generally, any kind of medium, and this is a point that goes clear back to Walter Ong, the rhetorician. Any kind of new medium advantages some people and disadvantages others, right? I personally have a terrible memory. And so if I lived 1,000 years ago when scholarly discourse and activities required a good memory and oral abilities, I'd be a lot less worse off than today when you need to be a good writer, right? And so in an age of writing, I can prosper. In an age requiring speaking and good memory, I'd be much worse off. And I guess one of the things I like to say about interaction design and the potential of online systems is initially, when they came along, they were very text-based, and so they favored people exactly like me. But for the longer purpose, now we have VoIP, so we can do speech online. We're getting better at turning voice into text and text into voice. So, my hope is that will make online systems more accessible to different communities. Another nice thing about text is if you're not a native speaker of a language, you can type text in non-real time, and so you can work out what you'd like to say to somebody who doesn't speak your language. If it's oral, you're out of luck, or you need somebody very, very patient. So, we need to keep these things in mind and work with a good, try to understand in whatever we're designing how to address those. We're never going to, I think, be able to treat everything with absolute equality, but we can try to keep the diversity of the world in mind and make sure that we're bringing other people along, people with different abilities, who speak different languages, who have different skills, at least making things as accessible to them as possible. And so for me, that's a big ethical issue.
Mm-hmm. Is this why you're working on a device for the developing countries?
That's part of the motivation of that is certainly we think it's we believe it's a good thing. I'm fundamentally an optimist in that I believe that systems which increase the possibility of human communication are good on the whole, right? I mean, clearly we can find lots of examples of hate speech online and flaming and negative interaction, but on the whole, if you give me a choice between creating interactive situations where more people can communicate more, I'm going to say, well, in general, that's going to result in a net improvement of the world. And others might disagree, but that's kind of my driving thing, and I guess that's the big assumption behind my work. If you somehow convince me that was wrong, that would be very disheartening, to say the least.
You would stop working, maybe.
I'd find something else to do, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, I have one last question. Okay, so let's for a minute compare online and offline businesses with regards to leveraging social behavior. When you look at offline businesses, they put a huge amount of resources into leveraging social behavior. For example, that they have many strategies to get people to tell their friends about their products. They get celebrities to endorse their products, and they make limited editions, and etc., etc. When you look at online businesses, do you think they spend the same amount of resources on leveraging social behavior?
That's a good question. I mean, I think the answer is probably just I don't know, but I do think you're seeing businesses paying more and more attention to the online component of that. I mean, even just in the last year, you can see more and more consultancies out there who will come along and advise a business on how to get buzz on Facebook or Twitter. I don't know how to sort of balance the amount of resources people are spending on it, but I think it's very rapidly becoming just sort of a common belief that if you're a business and you don't have a Facebook page or you're not on Twitter, that you're missing out on something. A while ago, I read about a company that would basically essentially sell you Facebook friends. So you're a company, you go to them, and this is not quite as artificial or fake as it seems. What you do is you say, I have a little company that sells pottery. I'm willing to pay, for that. They had prices, right? So I forget what they were, but $200 for 500 Facebook friends, or $200 for 1,000 Facebook friends, so you'd pay that money, and then they would go out and they'd look for mailing lists, Facebook groups, and they'd send out invites, right? Come and be a friend of Tom's company. Tom's company does this, which you seem to be interested in, and people would sign up, right? And then so you've sort of subcontracted your friending, right? And that the fact that there is apparently a viable business in that signals to me that businesses are catching on fast.
Mm-hmm. In your opinion, how big is the potential in the online world of leveraging or even exploiting social behavior? And is it easier to leverage in the online world?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's certainly a huge potential there, because for an online business, if your customer base is worldwide, you can reach 1 million people as easily as 1,000. Whereas if you're trying to make sort of physical world contact with them, you've got at least maybe not quite a linear price rate, but the price really goes up as you try to reach more and more people. So I think there is a huge potential there. On the other hand, as I don't know what to call it, as a society, as a culture, as sort of a meta interaction system, as businesses discover various methods like spamming and fake friends, the world doesn't like that, and so it develops countermeasures, right? And I think the worst thing that can happen is if spam checkers fail and we're all flooded with spam, and then we'll stop using email, and interaction will move to some other channel. But hopefully things will be in balance, that we'll strike some kind of homeostasis between the needs of businesses to promote themselves and their products, and the tolerance of individuals for those contacts. I mean, one could even spin a story where to say, well, it's to everyone's advantage that businesses be able to target only the people who are really interested, right? The people will like that, and the businesses will like that, and everybody will live happily ever after. I don't personally believe in that, but there may be some kind of balance there, right? That if you are able to spam the entire world, it would produce 3 billion people who hate you, and that might be cause a lot more difficulty and expense for you than having gotten the 1 million extra customers. So, some kind of balance always emerges, but where it's going to emerge, it's hard to say.
Good. So thank you so much for passing on some of your advice and so much of your knowledge and perspectives.
It's a pleasure. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I'm glad. And if you want to know more about social computing, you should read the chapter Tom has written at interactiondesign.org. Thank you so much for watching.